50. So this is looking at Franklin Northeast, and this is where we have Enosburg, Richford, Pre-K USD, and Montgomery. And the Secretary's recommendation is found on page 156. And the Secretary recommends that the best means of Act 46 goals for each district individually and for the region is for the State Board of Education to merge the governance structures of Enosburg School District and the Richford School District into a single unified school district that provides for education of its pre-K through 12 students by operating multiple schools. So if we could start the conversation around Enosburg and Richford.
I would just,
Oh, just right into the mic here
okay.
so they can hear you.
I would make one note to ourselves to come back to this issue in terms of the debt inequities that is happening here, and perhaps as an advisory cover letter separate from this process that we address that at a later time.
And if you should find in your paperwork, I know we have a lot of paperwork here, that there is, Brad produced, or is Brad, is this just for me, is this paper? There's one for everybody, that it does have all the additional information that you'd asked for the last meeting. So when we are looking at those schools, that data is in there too. So it's in the same format. And do you have a question for Brad at all then with that information?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes?
It's been a while since we've heard the concerns and arguments about this proposal, and my memory is short. Would anybody be willing to summarize the advocacies about this proposal?
I could start with that, sure. So when we look up in Franklin Northeast Supervisory Union, and if the map is helpful to have in front of you too. So we have the Montgomery, Berkshire, Bakersfield, which are now the Northern Valley, Mountain, USSD, and Sheldon all have K through 8 operating, and then Choice 9 through 12. And then when you have Enosburg and Richford, they have they both operate K through 12. As you can see, they have 5 different school buildings. They both operate a high school. They are both communities that rely heavily on these schools as a center of pride. They also are a little bit geographically separated. So that's, even though they're next to each other on the map, they did come to us before you were on the board with a plan to bring that whole SU into 2 structures. It was going to be pre-K through 8, and then Enosburg and Richford, and that didn't go through. So it didn't pass. And so that's why we see the sort of mud taking place where we have Bakersfield and Berkshire are separated by the town of Enosburg and are themselves a district. So that's what's interesting configuration up in that whole region. So anybody want to add to the Franklin Northeast SU, the Richford and Enosburg discussion? Yeah, Stacy.
Remarks on what that vote was, is that the vote that described that the Enosburg voters approved the merger by more than 2-1, and that the Richford voters defeated the proposal by 9 votes. And that's the vote that you're referring to?
Yeah.
So I think that's worth noting.
Right, it was fairly close, and I think the major concern that came out of that was that both communities were afraid of losing their high school, that they have extreme amount of pride, and it's students that are, they're seeing more students in trauma, more students with, coming from families with drug use, and how to address those concerns, and they're worried about busing students too, if one program was to close. That was a big concern that came out. And I think this also plays into the discussion of this region. When we look at what's going on in this region, the original Franklin Northeast SU, it is bifurcated at this point now with a district that's non-contiguous, but they voted to have that non-contiguous district. And we're going to talk about more of that later.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
The
John.
community that voted no by 7 votes, 9 votes?
9.
Was that the only vote they took? And does anybody know the answer to that?
It's the only one in the report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, I don't know the history well enough, but it says it's important to note that the vote on the most recent proposal, so whether or not there were prior ones, I don't know if there were ones after.
And Donna or Brad, do you have any additional information on that you could help us out, just to confirm? Or just how many votes were actually taken? Proposals.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Bill?
I'm wondering if we can have a discussion about Franklin Northeast in total, as well as Franklin Northwest and Sheldon. They all get intertangled there to some degree. And it's like if you play with this one, it jiggles that one. And so that confused me in my reading.
It is, because when we look at the Franklin Northwest, at our last meeting, we voted to put together Swanton, Highgate, and Franklin, and it's in an SU with Sheldon. Sheldon has the same operating structure of Berkshire and Bakersfield, and also Montgomery, which then makes kind of a foursquare around Enosburg and Richford. So it is an interesting, as you say, you make a decision somewhere, and it goes back. And I guess that's also why we're taking provisional votes at this point, and if we need to go back and change something, that is something that we could do. So other discussion about the Enosburg-Richford. And Bill, did you want to talk about, you said raising the issue of debt and taxes. Did you want to talk more about that, or did you want to go through this data?
I was thinking the issue of debt would be taken care of in the Articles of Agreement later in the agenda.
Does it affect the way you're going to vote, and do you need information before you vote? That's
No.
my big concern. Okay. Discussion or motion? John?
I would like to vote in support of the motion that will be made to accept the Secretary's recommendation. But I'd like to express again, I'm sort of, kids would keep their fingers crossed behind their back. To vote yes requires that I have some confidence that the board will acknowledge to the General Assembly, not in the state plan, but acknowledge to the General Assembly that some of these districts are going to need some help in order to succeed at accomplishing the mergers that they're being ordered to implement by the 1st of July. Bill has mentioned debt as a concern, and you had said that perhaps this should be brought to the attention of the General Assembly. I'm not proposing that we make our votes conditional, but, or that the state plan would in any way be conditional. It will be what the board determines it to be. But I am advocating that we think about communicating separately to the General Assembly that our actions in approving, for example, this proposal may create burdens on the communities that need to be addressed. Burdens such as not having enough time to go from where they are to where they're being ordered to be by the 1st of July, possibly inequitable debt burdens, and for that matter, possibly the need for technical assistance or facilitation to assist in bringing communities together communities together who have heretofore wished not to collaborate. So I'm not interested in specifying which of those communities need or should be assisted in that way by the General Assembly, but it seems to